This is the video you've all been waiting for. I can feel it. I just know. Porosity is not a trigger word. What's the word? Is it a trigger word? The words that people just be using? Hey y'all, my name is Dasha. I'm also known as the hair doula, and today we are talking about porosity. Porosity is an important element of your hair to know and to understand. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about it that we'll talk about today. And yeah, let's just jump right in. First of all, what is porosity? Because we throw this word around all the time. Do we really know what it means? Maybe, maybe not. Porosity, in the simplest terms, is your hair's ability to absorb water, your hair's ability to absorb hydration. We'll start with low porosity. If your hair is low porosity, then your hair does not easily absorb hydration. It does not easily absorb water. And you're gonna hear me say water and hydration interchangeably a lot because I really want to just always hammer in for y'all that hair needs to be hydrated, and hydration comes from water, okay? I just want to really make sure that we just like reprogram our minds to really understand that, okay? So if your hair is low porosity, then it has a hard time taking in water or hydration. Hair that's low porosity has a lot of cuticle layers, or the cuticle layers that it does have are just very compact, okay? If you've watched previous videos, you know that our hair is covered in like scales, essentially. In my brain, I think of it as like fish scales, which maybe is weird, but like that's the only thing I really know that's got scales like that is fish. So they're like really compact, or there's just a lot of layers of them. So water has a tough time penetrating it. With proper care, you can start to train your low porosity hair to absorb and hold on to water. So washing it weekly, making sure you're shampooing it and allowing water to really penetrate. Again, it's kind of like a sponge. When you leave a sponge, like a traditional sponge, really let it get really dry, it's harder for it to absorb water, right? If you've ever tried wiping up water with a super dry sponge that's hard as a rock, it doesn't really absorb the water. You have to wet it first and then wring it out, and it'll be wet and spongy, and then you can absorb more water than you could when it was bone dry. So your hair is the same way. If you make sure that it always has hydration and it never gets bone dry, then it will absorb water hydration more easily than it will if you always let it get bone dry before you wash it. And so that means you need to be washing your hair every week. Every week you need to be washing your hair, because the water evaporates from your hair in like 4 to 7 days. So you could push it a few days if you want, but for low porosity, like, you really need to be on a routine, and you really need to make sure that you're washing your hair consistently so it gets used to absorbing water. Some hair that's often low porosity, coarse hair, if your hair is really coarse, like the thickness of it, if you have coarse hair, you may be low porosity. And then usually if you've got gray hair, if you're graying, your gray hairs are low porosity as well. So y'all are gonna have to work a little bit harder to make sure that water is really penetrating your hair, so your hair is getting the hydration that it needs. One thing that I really want to point out to y'all, and this is extremely important in terms of understanding your hair and making sure that you're doing what it really needs. Some people, I will say probably a good portion of people, think that they are low porosity because they have buildup, okay, on their hair strands. They don't shampoo their hair like they need to. They don't clarify their hair to get rid of the buildup when they're supposed to. And so their hair is low porosity, but it's only low porosity right now because it has buildup on it. And if you properly cared for it, it would be normal porosity, okay? So if you think that your hair is low porosity, but you use a lot of butters, you use a lot of oils, you use a lot of heavy products, products that are not clean, that have silicones and stuff in them, and you use those kinds of things, and you don't use shampoo often, or you don't clarify your hair, then before making the determination that your hair is low porosity, clarify your hair first and start consistently using a moisturizing shampoo on a weekly basis, and then see how your hair does, because it may be completely different from when it had that buildup on it. Sometimes it takes time to really see the change, but like, you can really feel the difference almost immediately once you clarify your hair. Most people have average porosity. They have regular old porosity where it's in the middle. It absorbs hydration pretty good. It holds on to it pretty good. It releases it over amount of time. The nice thing about low porosity hair is that once you get the hydration in there, it holds on to it really, really well, really effectively. It's just the getting in there that's hard. Now on the opposite end of this spectrum, we have high porosity. So with high porosity hair, you either have fewer cuticle layers on your hair, or the cuticle layers that are on your hair have been raised from their naturally flattened position. So water and whatever is just kind of easily traveling in, but it's also really easy out as well. The centermost part of your hair for low porosity hair, the cortex, is also usually easily damaged because it's more vulnerable, because the cuticles on your hair are raised as opposed to being closed and protecting the center of your hair. Most people don't just naturally have high porosity hair. So high porosity hair is usually the result of heat damage or color damage. So if you are flat ironing your hair a lot, or using like direct heat tools for your hair, or you dye your hair a lot, you dye it different colors, you bleach it, things like that, then you probably have high porosity hair. Things that you can do to treat this, you can do protein treatments, and that can help kind of fortify your hair and strengthen it, as well as things like protein deep conditioners, just to help to strengthen your hair in the meantime, in between time. You can also just not use direct heat or color on your hair, but I know that that's not necessarily realistic for everybody. If you are using a lot of heat on your hair, then silicones would actually not be a bad idea for you. So that's been a bit about porosity. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Please like this if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and share this with someone that you think would really benefit from it or wants to learn some things like this. So thank y'all so much for watching. Again, my name is Dasha. I'm also known as the Hair Doula, and I will see you very soon. Bye.